Meet Rob Nelson, talk show host.
Because you got the 70s thing going there. I got someone's underwear.
Robert Kennedy, thanks for taking a minute. Simple question.
Tucker, it's good to see you. Listen,
You're a Bitcoin maximalist. You're Bitcoin forever.
I hate this central bank digital currency.
hey, I don't have all the answers, but together, I know we can find them.
Down in competition in the ratings tab for late night weekend.
Hey everybody, welcome to Rob Nelson Live. Thanks for watching. Happy Friday to you all. James Comey was indicted. That came as a surprise to absolutely no one, including him. The former head of the FBI is indicted. Well, first of all, I don't like James Comey. Never really have. He's pompous, arrogant. Not that that inherently makes you a bad person. It's just he was always like, we'll get into it. I personally never liked him, even when he was Trump's FBI director in the first term. There's something about him. And people who know him say he was always, if you asked who was the smartest person in the room, he would say he was. It's like, wow. Tucker Carlson said to me once, you never want to be the smartest person in the room. It's never the position you want to be in. And, you know, he kind of would downplay that he was very smart. Like, he knows he's very smart. I'm just saying it was sort of, we were having a panel, and he and Robert Malone and me were on the panel, and I was moderating it. And he said, you don't want to be the smartest person in the room. Because I was like, you act, you know, like you're not the smartest person in the room sometimes. He said, you don't want to be that. I looked at Robert Malone. Y'all know who Robert Malone is? The guy who was kind of responsible for a lot of the development of mRNA technology, and then got in trouble with all the social platforms for saying that the vaccine wasn't going to work, and they made him out to be an anti-vaxxer. And I remember him telling me, I'm a pro-vaxxer. I worked on the Ebola vaccine. I developed mRNA technology so it could be used, well, helped develop it, so it could be used for vaccines. He's just like, but that's why I know it's not going to work. Anyway, that Robert Malone, I looked at him and I said, because Tucker said, you never want to be the smartest person in the room. And I looked at Robert Malone and said, sucks to be you. Because he is like the smartest person in the room. Anyway, James Comey thought he was the smartest person in the room all the time. He's just also very self-serving. Not that everyone in politics and power isn't, but still. So he gets indicted, which we all saw coming, right? Like I said, he saw it coming. On felony charges of obstruction of justice and obstruction and perjury for related to his 2020 Senate testimony, in which the indictment claims he lied. The issue that he lied about, supposedly, allegedly, is when asked several times, and most particularly when Senator Cruz asked him, have you ever authorized the leak of any information to any confidential or FBI related information, a leak to the press? And he ever authorized someone to do it? And he said no. At which point, Senator Cruz said, well, Andrew McCabe, your deputy, because Andrew McCabe had admitted to leaking information at this point. Andrew McCabe, your deputy, says you did authorize him to leak it. So which one of you is telling the truth? Because can't both be true. Either you authorized him to or you didn't. And he's saying you did, you're saying you didn't. And he said, well, I stand by my testimony. It's interesting. He didn't say I did not authorize it. He said, I stand by my testimony. I don't know. It sounds subtle, but it's like, why don't you just double down on the defense instead of like, no, I stand by what I said. And he said, well, then is Andrew McCabe lying? And he's like, I can't speak for him. Well, you could actually, right? Right? It's like, I never told you to do that. Well, I never told this person to do that. Well, this person says you did. One of you has to be lying. I stand by my position. Well, are they lying? No, I'm not going to say. No, they're lying and I'm not. I didn't do it. He's saying I did. He's lying. Sorry, you're my friend or were, but you're lying. I never authorized that. Shady right there. Also shady because he leaked that information to the press. He admitted it, that he himself leaked information when Trump fired him through a friend of his, a professor at Columbia, who he said, here, I'm going to give this to you to give to the New York Times. And the professor gave it to the New York Times. And the New York Times then selectively used it to guide their coverage of Comey and Trump's firing. I mean, okay, that alone is really screwed up. Like, you leaked confidential information to a friend of yours, a professor, and said, go give it to the press. And then the press dutifully, because they weren't in collusion with the Biden administration. This is pre-Biden, but I'm just saying they weren't in collusion with the left. You know what the truth is? They weren't in collusion with anybody in particular. They were in collusion with anyone against Trump. That's a better way to put it. They'd be in collusion with Republicans like Liz Cheney against Trump. Be in collusion with Jim Comey, who was a Republican working for Trump against Trump and the Biden administration. In any case, he leaked the information to his friend and said, give it to the New York Times. And they did. And they used it selectively to tell you what was factually true, giving one side of the story based on leaked information. True or not true, it's completely unethical. He absolutely admitted he did it. But he didn't tell Andy McCabe to do it. No, never. It's almost like, it's just kind of weird. Okay, but you yourself did it. Yeah. Why didn't you give it right to the New York Times? Reasons I don't want to say. Interesting. Just you gave it to your friend and told him to give it to the New York Times. Probably you were trying to keep a cover trail, and then when you got busted, you had to admit you did it, which is probably why in my head, I think he probably told Andy McCabe to do it. Because I don't know that Andy McCabe, his deputy, would just go and do it without checking in. Now, he says he was told later, so he did know it had happened, and he didn't do anything about that. But they're not charging him on that. They're charging him with obstruction and perjury. Well, perjury and obstruction. And there's essentially, the perjury was what he said that would be a lie if it was a lie. And the obstruction, well, the obstruction's actually, in this case, they're predicating it, they're saying the one and the same. The perjury is the obstruction. In perjuring, he obstructed the pursuit of justice. In perjuring to the Congress, he obstructed justice being done. I've never loved that argument. It's kind of like that you said on Trump too. Like the lie we're accusing you of is the obstruction you committed. The things, the things you're saying aren't true are the obstruction. I don't know about that. But either way, that's how they're doing it. The attorney, U.S. Attorney Lindsay Halligan, who brought the indictment, said it was a matter of accountability, a breach of public trust at an extraordinary level. All right, here we go. Ready for this one? You've never heard it before, so listen carefully. No one is above the law. Where have I heard that before? Can't think. Oh, right. Donald Trump and everyone who works for him. No one is above the law. That I thought I'd been hearing that for like the last 4 years. Except Hillary Clinton. She was above the law. And apparently James Comey is now too. So they're using the same argument. Nobody's above the law, breach of public trust at an extraordinary level. It's a matter of accountability. These are words that could literally be taken out of every single indictment that went against Donald Trump. It could be taken against every single indictment that went against the people, which we'll talk about in a minute, who worked for him, who were indicted and charged and tried. It could go, it's literally, it is the rallying cry of the last 5 years about anything in Trump world. Anyone in Trump world. January 6th, Trump, everyone around him, even MAGA, all of MAGA. Well, no, I'm exaggerating. Yes, all of MAGA, no one's above the law, but the accountability, the breach of public trust at an extraordinary level. Got to keep that part. Extraordinary level. No one is above the law. I'm thinking I'm thinking Halligan took it right out of some of the indictments against Trump and all those guys. Trump was a little less poetic. Justice in America in all caps. I love the all caps, the fifth grader all caps. One of the worst human beings this country has ever been exposed to is James Comey. The guy lives in, what's it called? Exploratives? I got that one wrong. The things when you make something the most extreme. I can't. My literacy is showing right now. I'll remember before the end of the show. The former corrupt head of the FBI today was indicted on felony counts for various illegal and unlawful acts. He has been so bad for our country for so long and is now at the beginning of being held responsible for his crimes against our nation. Again, in all caps, make America great again. It just cracks me up. It's like the worst human being in this country. Okay, he's not the worst human being. But if you're Trump, you might feel like it because he has spearheaded the Russia hoax investigation and helped overlook and push by and lied to the FISA court to get the things, the warrants, and overlook the information, which he in hearings claims he doesn't recollect being told that this was all that intelligence within their own intelligence community, our intelligence community, suggested that the information being used for the Russia hoax thing and the Steele dossier was very low level confidence, and that it appeared it was being driven by the Clinton campaign. Now, he was told this because we have now since seen the emails. So nobody doubts he was told it because we now have the emails now that Republicans are in charge. And when asked, he's like, I don't recollect. Okay. He didn't say I wasn't told because it's there in an email, but he doesn't remember being told that the Steele dossier, which would be the basis of a 2-year investigation, the Mueller Commission, a special prosecution, was very low level confidence information. They called it bar talk by our own intelligence operatives, and that appeared to be being driven and financed by the Clinton campaign to undermine Trump's credibility. I would think, I don't know. I would feel like that would be something that would just sort of stick out to me if I saw it. I guess maybe he didn't look at emails he got from top people about huge things, that like a case that was going to rock the country for 2 years, where you would try to unseat a sitting president. I think I'd look. Let's just be honest. Of course he looked, and of course he knew. No one can ever make him say it. But how stupid do we think we are? It's like that thing he did with the shells, where he pretended he put the shells together and they basically said, 86-46 or whatever it was, 86-47. And he didn't realize that that would first he pretended he just saw it there. Like someone was very clever just walking down the beach to put that together with shells. Um, like it would be just the kind of thing, and if law enforcement person would put together, like James Comey, and then say, "Look what I found." No, some kid walking down the beach decided to go 86-47. Um, and he pretended he didn't know what 86 meant. Now I know 86ing is not inherently meaning putting a hit on someone. There are many other versions for it. It actually comes from restaurants, which is true. I don't remember. There's some reason, but they'd say 86. You're 86 from a bar or a restaurant, and it had something to do with. I don't remember. Just ChatGPT. We're going to talk about ChatGPT in a little bit, but it had something to do with ChatGPT. I'm sorry, with kicking people out of a restaurant or a bar, or not letting them back in. But it has been used. I mean, watch The Sopranos. I mean, we all know if you said, the mob's going to 86 them. They were 86. They'd be like, yes, either if my friend was 86 from a bar, you think he's alive. But if you said this guy was, was a gang member and they 86'd him, you wouldn't think they kicked him out of the gang. He'd be like 6 feet under. But Comey pretended he didn't know. So I'm sort of not buying how Comey just never seems to know stuff. Because he's the smartest guy in the room, remember? And he is a really smart guy. So of course he knew that. He ignored it because he hated Trump and wanted to get Trump impeached and out of office. Well, that's not good. So it makes me distrust whether or not he would have told Andrew McCabe to leak information to the press when he admitted he himself did it. Either way, that will not get him convicted in court. And, Pam Bondi, the attorney general, same thing. We deserve justice after years of lies and political interference. That's true, by the way. Tim Kaine on the other side, Hillary Clinton's running mate, senator from Virginia. It's a malicious prosecution. Malicious prosecution. Okay. Mark Warner, also a senator, a Democrat. It's an abuse of power, this kind of interference, he said. Trump is undermined because he pushed out a prosecutor who wouldn't prosecute it, which he's allowed to do, but you can question the ethics of that, whatever. The Biden team pushed a former prosecutor in to help Letitia James, the attorney general, prosecute Trump in New York. It's eroding the rule of law itself, says Warner. The problem I have, well, first of all, I just want to say perjury is really hard to prove. It's an extremely hard thing to prove. Because think of it this way. Perjury is lying under oath. You have to prove the person lied first. It was a lie. First, you got to prove factually it was a lie. Then you got to prove they knew it was a lie when they said it. That's really hard to prove. You might prove it was a lie, but I can tell you I didn't realize it was a lie when I said it. That's why perjury is so hard to prove. Now, the reason they might get him, constitutional law professor from George Washington University, Jonathan Turley, who I always recommend listening to. He can lead. Well, he's the whole thing with Trump. The whole thing, the way they weaponized everything against the Trump administration made a lot of people who weren't Republicans, who were more leaning Democrat, even like the Joe Rogans, kind of decide, I'm good. And Elon Musk's lifelong Democrats, I'm going to go the other way. But Turley makes some good points about things. Anyway, he made this point that all they're trying to go after is this narrow thing, that he got somebody else to leak information. So in other words, he got Andrew McCabe to leak information and he said he didn't. It's a narrow thing. Now, it could be she said, he said, except it does hurt that he admitted he himself did it after he was fired. So you might believe he did it, and it's not a lie that the information was leaked. So here's where I want to go with all this. Everybody's crying foul right now. Everybody's saying it's weaponization. Everybody's saying Trump's going after his political enemies. Maybe I should have led with this. He is. He is going after his political enemies. I'll say it again. All libs out there, I'm with you. Trump is going after his political enemies, one by one, systematically. That includes the media. And he's going after them all. He's finding the reason, the pretext, the pretense to do it. I'm not defending James Comey. I have a feeling James Comey did perjure himself. But before they all cry foul, remember, that's what they got General Mike Flynn for, perjuring himself. They messed his entire life and career up, cost him a fortune, dragged him from public office. He was Trump's national security advisor. And in his case, he literally was asked to go down and talk to some FBI agents, which he happily did. He's like, sure, guys, what do you want to know? Let's sit down. Tell me. I'll tell you anything. No lawyers, no nothing. What do you want to know? Oh, we're investigating what you said with the Russian ambassador. Oh, yeah. Well, this is what happened and that. Oh, and this. Yeah. I clear things up. Yep. Bump, way to beat. And that's not exactly what you said to Congress. We're charging you with perjury. And that's what they did. Felony perjury. And he's like, what? Wait. I didn't try to lie to anybody here. You asked me guys to come in and talk. I was like, what do you want to know? I'll tell you whatever you need. Like, I'm happy to. I'm no secrets. They weaponized it. It's ironic that Comey's getting charged with the very thing his FBI brought against Mike Flynn for doing the same thing in a much more honest context. Mike Flynn went down to the FBI and walked through the office, had him come in and sat down, no lawyers, no nothing, said, what do you guys need to know? Not hiding anything. So did he misspeak? Did he say things he shouldn't have said too early to the Russian ambassador? Maybe, probably. Like with all of this stuff, it's been weaponized by the Democrats first. And that's the problem. Trump, it is weaponized. But they weaponized it first. And I said this when it happened. This will not end well. So if you want to say Trump is weaponizing the Department of Justice, and all you conservative commentators out there want to say he's not, yes, he is. He's just not the one that did it first. So technically, he's not weaponizing it. It was weaponized. Think of it this way. You had this very powerful thing that could be a weapon, but it didn't have any ammunition in it. And it could be used several different ways. It's almost like nuclear power, enriching uranium. You could enrich it for civilian use, or you could extra enrich it to make bombs. But you had the uranium. The Democrats made it weapons grade level. 100%. I can go through the examples. I've given you a few. I'm going to give you more. They made it weapons grade level. And then what happened? The Republicans got control of the nuclear reactor facilities, whatever they're called. And they were already weaponized. So now they had weaponized radioactive material, right? So if you think of it that way, or you can think of it more simply, it was a gun, it wasn't loaded. The Democrats loaded the gun, started shooting it. Then the Republicans got the gun, still loaded, had lots of extra bullets, started shooting back. The Democrats weaponized this first, at least in this cycle. I mean, the truth is, the FBI, everyone likes to say our FBI's never been whatever. The FBI was weaponized in the 50s, the McCarthy era. I mean, McCarthy, they weaponized the FBI, went after all Hollywood, anyone who's a commie. It was weaponized under Nixon. It wasn't so much weaponized after that. Bush didn't really weaponize it. Clinton, I don't think so much. Obama, a little bit Obama, a little bit, but not to the degree they went on Trump. It was full-on weaponization. They weaponized it and they used it. So Democrats, liberals, all those in the media saying this is scary, it's the weaponization of justice. It is. Did you just wake up? Have you been sleeping? Have you been in slumber? Have you been hibernating? Did you miss the weaponization of the last 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, 8 years? They were weaponizing it when Trump was in office with the Comeys, with the people who actually had power within the deep state. but certainly the last 4 or 5 years, they weaponized it full on under the Biden administration. Full on weaponization. So yes, it's being weaponized. I'm being repetitive for a reason because everyone's saying it's being weaponized. Yes, it is. It is being weaponized. But Trump didn't weaponize it. It was weaponized against him first and against conservatives and the MAGA people. And now he has it, and he's using that weapon back. And he absolutely is. Don't anyone kid yourself. He has taken out everybody who wronged him. Now, some of that's legitimate. Like I said, Comey, I don't have a lot for him, I think the media is so overreach, they deserve to be slapped back. Give them a good slap in the face and check them back. Give them a check. They need a good check. It's like a check in hockey, They need a good, hard hit on the line of scrimmage, The receiver needs to get hit extra hard when he catches the ball, like shake him up. They need that. But that's what's happening. And it is true. He's going systematically after everybody. And he doesn't even hide it. He is going after them one by one by one. Whether he can get them or not, he's just going after them. Not because he's an authoritarian, not because he's totalitarian, because they weaponized it against him and everything he stood for from day one. He's also human and he has a huge ego. And they beat him down and impeached him twice and tried him. I made a note because I couldn't even remember all the things they tried him for taking documents, classified documents. Every president does it. Hillary Clinton, the Secretary of State, did it. She took him. She was his Secretary of State. Joe Biden was vice president. They didn't even have the authority. He, at least as president, has the ability to classify him, declassify him. Technically, there's an argument. Does he have them and he gives them to the presidential, gives them to the federal government to keep? It's all complex if it was litigated. But they went after him, brought a SWAT team in. With Joe Biden, they just quietly a couple times we found him here, we found him there. Hillary Clinton literally crushed the servers, smashed them up, bit everything to make it all go away. She didn't get charged. Comey said, it's not really something we could prosecute. They had no problem prosecuting Trump. They went after him on January 6th and saying he started the riot. They went after him for racketeering in Georgia for fighting the thing. And it turns out the prosecutor, right, Fannie Willis, was sleeping with the guy she had going. And he was, she had like a little, sugar daddy or whatever. Or she was his sugar daddy or whatever. But like unethical things to do as a prosecutor. Yeah. And then the biggie of all, Letitia James in New York. That Trump inflated all the value of his properties and again was like scamming people in business, even though all the banks and people doing business were perfectly happy and didn't feel scammed at all and made money and went back and did business again and had full disclosure of what Trump said things were worth, his organization. And they had full right to do their own assessment. They came and said, we're good. There was no harm. And yet they prosecuted him. And we talked the other day about the Stormy Daniels thing where they literally took a misdemeanor, had passed on even being able to prosecute it for filling in the wrong information. Maybe it was intentional to not make it sound like paid off woman I slept with, paid off woman Trump slept with. But it was still a legal fee. It was still a legal thing. They were paying a lawyer to pay her to make a legal problem go away. It wasn't a crime. They turned that into a felony conviction on what? Illegal campaign contributions that the FCC knew about. He'd done it and didn't decide to go for it. That was weaponization. That was targeting Trump. That was targeting the people around him. They went after Walton Nadja, his aide for the docs thing that eventually got dropped by the 11th Circuit after Trump was president. The 11th Circuit and appeals just pushed the case away. Peter Navarro, his trade advisor, contempt of Congress. Not showing up. Steve Bannon, contempt of Congress, failure to comply with subpoenas. I think one of them was subpoenas. I think Navarro's was not giving documents. Either way, contempt of Congress. About the same as the perjury thing. Sidney Powell, trickier, but RICO. They went RICO on him for the Georgia stuff. Mark Meadows, his former chief of staff, indicted in the Georgia case, same thing. Rudy Giuliani, same thing. These guys may not have the cleanest hands in everything, but this is weaponization full scale. And the biggest one I started with, Mike Flynn, his national security advisor, for the very thing they're going after Comey for. Although his was much more innocent. It was like clearly like maybe he was using influence inappropriately. It's hard to say. He wasn't trying to necessarily make money from it. He was trying to, maybe it was too premature. Maybe he had a financial interest in it too underneath. I don't know. Every member of Congress seems to have a financial interest in everything they do. But clearly he wasn't trying to hide anything. He had an honorable record as a U.S. general serving his country for decades. When asked, he showed right up and said, what do you guys need to know? I got nothing to hide. They indicted him and were trying to convict him for that. Now, Trump eventually pardoned him, but they went after him for that. They weaponized this. You guys on the left weaponized this. The Democrats, you weaponized this. And I said, once you create that weapon, it is very hard to take it back. It's very hard to undo it. You can't now make it not a weapon. And you know what? It's going to get if Democrats take over the House next in the midterms, they're going to impeach Trump again. And if they get the presidency, they're going to weaponize it against Republicans and say, we're doing it against you because you did it against us. But Republicans are like, but you did it against us. And they're right. But the bottom line is, in the current era of our time, who's the first one that loaded the gun or took the centrifuges and took them uranium, took the uranium to nuclear weapons grade level? The Democrats did. And I said at the time, this will come back to haunt you because you are going after people for things, even the January 6th stuff at some level. And I know it was a horrible thing, but it's been so blown out of proportion. The closest thing our country's ever come to the republic falling. It was not at all. It was horrible. It was ugly. It was not right. Some people should absolutely go to jail for it. But a whole lot of people went to jail who shouldn't have. They just went after everybody. I mean, you know, and so when you weaponize things in that way, it's going to come back and get you. And Trump in particular wants to make people pay. Now, I'm not saying there isn't some value in some of what he's doing, because some of these things need to be dealt with. I think, like I said, the press needs to realize, Jimmy Kimmel should not, but the press needs to realize they can't just distort everything. I mean, they will, and they do, but there's supposed to be a check on power, all power, not just the power they don't like. They're not anymore. But I think, you know, again, checking him. It's like I said, in a sport, when you hit somebody, it's sometimes, even if you take a penalty, it's to make them realize, hey, hit the quarterback hard. He's going to think twice next time and be a little off balance. That's okay to do. Comey got no use for him. But watch, yes, Trump will go after people one at a time, and people will cry foul. And all I will say is, you threw the first punch. It's Rob Nelson Live. Thanks for watching. I will see you on Monday, 8 p.m. Eastern, and then 9 p.m. for the nightly recap. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Meet Rob Nelson, talk show host.
Because you got the 70s thing going there. I got someone's underwear.
Robert Kennedy, thanks for taking a minute. Simple question.
Tucker?
It's good to see you. Listen,
If you're a Bitcoin maximalist, you're Bitcoin forever.
I hate this central bank digital currency.
Hey, I don't have all the answers, but together, I know we can find them.
Down in competition.